Hello, hello. Happy Saturday, everyone. Are you ready for the weekend? Yay! So I'm here. I'm just going to wait for a few people to get on so that I can not be talking to myself because I find that to be weird. So I'll just wait a minute. Here comes some people. I see people. Yay! Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. I know that you're there. I see you coming in. There's Jan. Hi, Jan. And Shauna. Hi, guys. Good to see you. And come on in, you guys. We have a whole Saturday afternoon to get busy with. Hey, Betsy. Good to see you. How's everyone doing? Hope you're doing well. So, just FYI, I just broke my 42-hour fast. I can't believe I went that long. 42 hours. You know, I decided I have been on this same plane for for over 3 weeks. I have not lost 1 pound. Well, I have now. I hadn't lost 1 pound since we had our whole last sprint, and I stayed the course. Believe me, there was no cheating, no nothing. I might have maybe had a couple of too many nuts, but believe me, you know, with everything that I was doing, it just didn't make any sense. So I just decided, well, you know what? Sometimes you just have to take the bull by the horns and get things going again. So I just broke my fast of 42 hours. I stopped eating Thursday at 7 p.m. and I broke it at noon, my time. So I've got a nice full belly and I feel really good. I was thinking, you know, I could almost go a little bit longer, but I thought I'm getting a little hungry and maybe a little funny, lightheaded, but you know, 42. So I lost 1.5 pounds, which is happy. And, you know, my whole point is, you know, sometimes you have to shake the box. And one of the things that we're going to be doing in the Hot Melt Club, which if you got an email this morning, if you're in my VIP list, you got an email this morning talking all about the Hot Melt Club. And that's going to be opening up in November, and it's going to get us through the holidays without the weight gain, because that's my whole goal. And it's a whole year-long program, right? And I am going to be playing with that and taking people on very specific challenges and just for you. And it's going to be a small club. I can't take very many because I'm going to be doing individual coaching. And so there you go. Now you see what frustration we all have when we do the plan and don't lose weight. Well, Patricia, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, you forget that I'm also a human being and that I also have struggles. So, yeah, I mean, of course I do. Of course I understand. And, you know, this is part and parcel. This is what happens, you know, when you get postmenopausal. It just, you know, and you have a thyroid condition on top of that. It's, for me, it is like a big freaking deal to lose weight. I have to work really hard on it, harder than the average bear. So, yeah, I know what it is. I don't think I was, have I ever been unempathetic with you? I think I've been pretty empathetic. Anyway, so 42 hours, and that made the needle move. Finally. But that's just the way it is, you guys. I mean, you know, we have to work with our bodies the way that they are, because sometimes our bodies are just going to be really rebellious. They're going to push back. And they're just going to say, no, I'm just going to hold on to it. And listen, you know what I think? You know what I think is really crazy? I think it's nuts that we get so impatient with ourselves when we have done all of this abuse for all this period of time, and we've dragged around this weight for all this period of time. And because nothing's happened after a week of behaving ourselves, essentially, we're like ticked off, and we're like, so now I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This doesn't work. Well, what doesn't work is you don't work if you're that impatient with yourself. We need to be really super patient with ourselves, and we need to understand that you know, this body needs to be handled with kid gloves. We need to love ourselves enough that we're going to give ourselves the grace that we would give, you know, a child who is recovering from a stomach virus, you know? It might be super inconvenient. You might not like having to clean up, blasted through diapers or throw up all over the place at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you do it anyway, right? We care for that child anyway. It is not a whole lot of fun to do that, and we've all been there. I mean, I remember sitting in the bathtub with this, trying to cool off a very, very feverish baby at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was not enjoyable. But what do? We do what we have to do as a parent. And I think if we could start treating ourselves the same way that we've treated our children, how we've treated our babies, and how we've brought them through even the most difficult times, then we can see ourselves through these plateaus. I know exactly what it is to be on a plateau. It's almost, I thought, well, let's just wait and see how we do through the end of this sprint. And I just said, no. I kind of felt like I was ready for this and I could do it. And let's see how far. This is the longest I've gone with this kind of an intermittent fast. I've done 24 hours before. But, honestly, I think you just really, if we can get into listening to our bodies and deciding that, we're for ourselves and that we are the cheerleader of ourselves and that we have the ability to shake things up a little bit, and we need to be detectives. Marla and I call it the CSI. Now, I don't watch CSI. She does. And so she knows all the different rules, and apparently there are lots of rules. Rule number 9 is always carry a knife or something. I don't know. But the point is, when we're detectives, we can find out what is going on. Do we need to watch our portions? Have we had enough hydration? Are we moving? Is it time to shake things up? Or is it time to have a little period of fasting? Or is it time to just ask somebody for some help? That's it. Gibb rules. Okay. Can you tell me how to do it? Rita, I have talked to you repeatedly. I can tell you what you need to talk to your doctor. Type 1 diabetes is a whole different ball of wax, and I don't have the expertise for it. If I could help you with type 1 diabetes, I would right now. I promise you. When you have type 1 diabetes, it is a absolute crapshoot, and everyone's different. It's an autoimmune disease. Type 2 is a lot different, and there's some predictability to it. Type 1, there's no predictability, and you have a roller coaster that you have to deal with. And I don't know if you have an insulin pump or not, but I will say with type 1, you just have to be really, really specific and really adhere to what it is that your doctor's telling you to do. Now, if your doctor is not supportive and isn't going to help you, and I don't know if you can fast with type 1 or not, because I'm not a doctor, but if you don't have a doctor who's working with you, go get another doctor. You can do that. We're not trees, remember? We're not planted where we are. But, everybody, we all have the ability to tune it in. Yes, you can find a good doctor. Yes, you can. Hold on. Okay, Rita, I'm going to just... Okay. Unless you're living in Siberia, you can find a good doctor. If you have to drive further or get somebody to help you drive, you can do this. I just want to say one thing. The people who make things happen for themselves are the people who power through the problems. They don't just say, I can't. They say, I will, and I'm going to find out. Now, I don't know where you live, but I promise you, there is a good doctor who will work with you. Promise. Hand to God. There is a good doctor that will work with you. Everybody, you know what? I will. Can I tell you how many doctors I've fired? So many doctors. I had a doctor who said, when my thyroid, I gained 30 pounds in 3 months. And I went to the doctor and I said, something's not right. My face was as round as a moon. And I knew something was going on. I had plantar fasciitis. I mean, I could hardly walk across the room. Later on, I got the rosacea. I weighed 237 pounds. It just like boom, like that. I had been working out. Was on a diet. I had a diet where it was calories in, calories. I was doing all the things. It didn't work. And when I went and I saw the doctor, and she said to me, well, are you sure you haven't just been eating just maybe a little bit too much? I was so angry at her, and I said, look, can you just test my thyroid, lady? I'm a nutritionist. This shouldn't be happening to me. So what I did with this is I had, she told me, after she said that, I said, please test my thyroid. And then it came back. And then she said, okay, well, you're right. You know, your thyroid's really out of control. And so you know what I said to that? I said, then, okay, then let's, you know, and I knew from other people in my wellness circle that I wanted a bioidentical thyroid. And she was like, no, Synthroid's just fine. And I said, I don't want that. And these are the reasons why. I want, and it wasn't WP thyroid at the time. It was, you know, the other one. I can't remember the name of it right now, but that was the one that I got. And it made all the difference. And I quickly lost the weight and everything, but I also fired the doctor. I don't want somebody like that in my court. Somebody like that is never going to help me. She's never going to help me. I'm always going to be fighting her. And so you know what I did? I started Googling, who is the best integrative doctor? And then I put my area in. This was when I was living in Newport Beach, actually, of all places. This is way back in California when I was on the radio show. And I found somebody who I worked with who was okay, wasn't great, but at least they listened to me. And I've told you how to become an empowered patient is by taking on your own case like it's life and death. You go and you do your own research. You find out about different things. So for example, Rita, as a type 1 diabetic, I would look up fasting research for type 1 diabetics. I would find that. And then I would show that to my doctor. I'd find out keto diets for type 1 diabetics. And then I'd get the research for it. I'd show that to my doctor and say, this is what I want to do. This is my weight. These are the medications. How can we taper this off? How does this work? What do I need to do? You will never find a good doctor until you keep poking the bear. It's the truth. You will, Armor. Thank you, Sally. Armor, of course. I mean, I took that for this much time until I found, this is what I take now. It's WP thyroid. Whoops, can you see it? Yeah. Stuff's great. Works like a charm. I take one pill in the morning and I'm fine. It's bioidentical thyroid. And, you know, the difference between taking, like, you know, other kinds of medication is that when you take a bioidentical, you're doing something that is actually helping the symptoms and the problems that you have. You want something that's not masking a symptom. You want something that is helping the root cause of your problem. The root cause of hypothyroidism and really Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease, is that your TSH is just going crazy and you're not producing enough thyroid. When you don't produce enough, you know what happens? You exhaust your thyroid, and that's when you get nodules. That's when all kinds of things happen, and you just need to help your poor little thyroid out. That's what the bioidenticals do. It's fantastic. And Lisa's right. She's been in pharmacy for over 15 years. Bioidentical is something that's easily identified by your body. Now, for type 1 diabetics, you have to take insulin because your pancreas is not producing insulin. Unlike type 2s, whose bodies are just not absorbing insulin. Their bodies are still producing it, but they're just not absorbing it because their cells are overburdened. And this is why fasting is such a great thing to do. Yes, it is a WP. WP thyroid is a prescription. You know, you have to, with your thyroid, you really have to get that measured, and there's lots of blood tests. You do it like every couple of months, and your body is always in a state of flux. You're never constantly one time the same. Your body changes on a daily basis. That's why, you know, Marla's telling me her blood sugar is this at midnight. My blood sugar was this at midnight. My blood sugar is this morning. It's all over the board. It's always like that for everyone. Nobody stays continually the same. We have fluctuations in everything. That's how our bodies work. We're live. We're functioning and constantly changing. Right? We're constantly changing. So we need to be adaptive. That's why I tell you, you need to become your own inner nutritional guru. You also need to become your best advocate. And you need to walk into that doctor prepared with studies, knowing what you want, knowing what to do. And this is Rita. One of the things that I said to you is if I were you, I would find a type 1 diabetic Facebook group that works together with some really good, with people who have just the same exact illness that you do, that can give you some good concrete help. I can't. I can support you with the mindset stuff. I can support you with what we're doing, with the sprint, with Hot Melt Diet, with the Hot Melt Club. I can support you all the way around the block. But my recommendations may not be for you because you're type 1. And type 1 diabetes, like I said, is all over the place. And it's a very, very tricky disease, and it's hard to get on top of it. And you have to work with your physician. And if your physician isn't doing a good job, then go find another one. And I don't care. And here's the other thing. Sometimes it's an internist. You don't have to necessarily go with an endocrinologist. And my finding with working with endocrinologists, and I'm sure this is not all of them, but I've never had good luck with an endocrinologist. They fight me hook, line, and sinker. And I came to them and I said, look, my TSH is too high. And they said, oh, well, the recommendation is up to 8. And I said, yeah, 5 years ago, the recommendations changed. That endocrinologist didn't believe me, Googled it in front of me on their iPad and said, oh, you're right. So can you think about how many people, this endocrinologist whose specialty is the thyroid, right? How many people have they not been treating because they didn't have the recommendations correct? How scary. There's good doctors out there and there's bad doctors out there. It's like there's good mechanics out there and there's bad mechanics. There are good people and there are good, caring, research-intensive people and people who want to help you to do your best. But there's also people out there who are just grinding it through and just getting through another day. And you know them by their work. You know them by their words. And when they tell you something, believe them. Believe them. If they say, well, it's just that's how it is for everyone and you're never going to get any better. I also had a doctor who told me that. And guess what? This doctor also had Hashimoto's disease and also had the thyroid that I had. She had nodules and all of that. She was an integrative physician and her thing was hormones. That was my last visit there. My last visit. I said, what do I do about this rosacea? I said, I was covered in rosacea. And she said, well, it's really, you're going to have that for the rest of your life. And I was like, not me. You're going to have that for the rest of your life. So here, we'll put you on, they wanted to put me on antibiotics forever. Like here, and just fill it up every month and just keep taking these antibiotics and destroy your gut. And I said to her, listen, so Hashimoto's is different than just hypothyroidism. It's an autoimmune disease. And she said, well, you don't treat it any different. And I said, well, you should. Autoimmunity is a whole lot different than just having, a thyroid that's going bonkers. I mean, I know that. That was the last time I saw her too. And I kept going. Do you know how much time I spent on this? It was important. I needed the correct care. And that's, you all do. And if you're not doing this and finding your doctors and working on this like it's a jigsaw puzzle that you have to have done by midnight or, they're going to come into your house and steal all your jigsaw puzzles. I am having a hard time with really good metaphors today. Then what are you doing? Stop watching me. Stop watching all the Facebook live videos and go work on yourself. Work on this. This is a project. Getting your doctor in your corner and getting somebody who you can partner with, somebody who's going to say to you, listen, let's work on this. We'll do this together. I can't tell you, it changed my life. Completely 100% changed my life. Not only am I no longer 237 pounds, but I got rid of the nodules. I got rid of the rosacea. I got rid of all the things that I'm not supposed to be able to do. The only thing I haven't been able to get rid of, and I'll tell you about it right now, is this. So what? 1 pill in the morning. Big deal. Big deal. And I feel like a human. Otherwise, the symptoms start coming back. Otherwise, I start losing hair. And you can see, it's not bad. See, it's kind of growing back. But I get patchy, lose hair, lost all my eyebrows. They're back now. But I had to tattoo underneath them because they weren't there. These are all the things that happen. And my rosacea was just awful. My face was like a moon, big, huge nodules. And I had a doctor coming at me with this massive Where is that thing? Oh, I can't find it. I can't find it. If I could find, oh, there, it's over there. The little stick that Robert gave me. But if I had that, I could show you. But it was like, it looked like a turkey baster, and it came right at my neck, all for 3 of them, right there. That's no fun. Getting a thyroid biopsy like that, they thought it might be cancer. But it turned around. And the turning around part is where we step up to the plate, we take responsibility, we find the best people for what it is that we need, we ask the correct questions, and we get the research and bring it in, highlighted and talking about it because we understand it. And if you have a doctor who says, well, I'm the doctor here, you don't need to be doing that, then you find a new doctor. I've told you this. Doctors have this, some doctors have this complex. I call it, the MD stands for medical deity, or so they think. You know? Yeah, Wendy's asking. She said, I have Synthroid, but this WP thyroid makes me curious. Like to ask my doctor why Synthroid. And I can't see the rest of this. But listen to me a minute about this, okay? Synthroid is a synthetic. The WP thyroid is a bioidentical. It looks exactly like, it's pig thyroid, right? But that's the closest to human thyroid that there is. And our bodies accept it and understand it much more readily than a synthetic. Our bodies are always searching for something that they understand and know. That's how they perceive it. It's an understanding. It's information. When we take a medication, we're giving our bodies information. This is what this is. Oh, okay, I'll help you heal your thyroid, or I'll help you keep your weak, overworked thyroid working, right? That's what it is. It's a help. And what we need to look at is when we're taking a synthetic, it doesn't always necessarily work. For some people, it works fantastic. One of my girlfriends, who I've been friends with for over 30 years, she can only take a synthetic. She had most of her thyroid removed, and that's another thing. Anyway, and so when she had her thyroid removed, they gave her Synthroid, and it's what worked. When she went on to a bioidentical, it didn't work for her. That's just her. That's what she's used to. So, and that we all have that ability too, to find out what works for us. For me, it was the difference between night and day. And I met a gal who moon-faced just like me, and I made the suggestion, why don't you see if you try the WP thyroid? I got an email from her saying, thank you so much, with 2 pictures side by side. One with her big moon face and the other one with her normal face, saying, what a difference this made. So if you're not getting results from your Synthroid, then ask your doctor about WP thyroid. Ask them. Or even, Armour. Anything. But if you're not getting results, you need to keep standing up for yourself. And if again, if you're dealing with thyroid issues, really critically important to work with work with a gluten-free diet, a dairy-free diet, anti-inflammatory diet, and getting your stress under control. Gentle movement. Nothing, where you're taxing your adrenals. Your adrenals and your thyroid are very much intricately attached to each other. That makes all the difference in the world. So, anyway, if you're in the sprint, it's day, 6? Tomorrow's day 7. Thanks, Jenna. She said, I love that you're giving it to us straight. Well, you know what? I always give it to you straight. I'm not going to mince words. And I'm also going to say that, there is help wherever we need it. Sometimes you look in the wrong places. And I always say, go look where other people who have the same thing that you have are. If you had a third arm, I would tell you, go find the third arm group. If you had warts all over your face, go find the wart face group. The point is that we need the support. Somebody's walked down that path before you. I promise you. And somebody's had success. And somebody understands and has been in your shoes, and you need that. You need that. Some people are only getting treated for T4, not T3. T3 is what makes T4 work. That's exactly right. And yes, you do have to have an RX for WP thyroid. WP thyroid is a bioidentical, but it is also a prescription type of a thing. Okay? It is a prescription thing. But it could be part of the puzzle of what's going on with you. Like for me, what was going on with me big time when I first went to the doctor and said, I've gained 10 pounds a month for the last 3 months. I'm 30 pounds heavier. I feel like crap. Everything on me hurts. I feel like, and I remember this very distinctly saying, I feel like when I'm walking through wet cement. And if you've had a thyroid issue and you know that kind of fatigue and just like, that, and the brain fog, I couldn't think. I couldn't form a sentence. I couldn't remember words. I was thinking, what is this? Early Alzheimer's? I was in my 40s. And then I finally got the diagnosis. And, it was one of those throwaway diagnoses that most doctors, they just want to throw Synthroid at you and be done with it. They don't want to even do the full panel. And like my other doctor said, well, that's just the same thing. Hashimoto's is just hypothyroidism. You just treat it the same. So why even test? You might find that your antibodies are so high that bringing them down is an absolute must before you're going to start to feel better. Because if your antibodies are completely attacking your thyroid, you need to protect it. You don't want a thyroidectomy, do you? You don't want thyroid cancer. You don't want to have all those nodules. You have to protect it. And you need to know. You need the information. So when you see your doctor, you ask them for a full panel. Not just the TSH, but a full panel. Because sometimes you'll get back a TSH that's perfectly within range, but you've got your antibodies going crazy and everything is nutty. The TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. And the thyroid stimulating hormone, it stimulates so that they can get the thyroid hormone going. And if it's just stimulating and it's like a car going, do you like my sound effects? And you keep turning the key, but you can't get it started. The next thing you know, it's flooded. And you flood the engine. And this is what happens. It's how you destroy your thyroid. So we have to protect it. We can only protect it with enough information so we know what to do next. I don't know what Unithroid is. I've never heard of that one. Is that from another country? Maybe that's from another country, but I've never heard of Unithroid before. Cool. Well, Jane, and I will also say all thyroid medication is gluten-free now. Once upon a time, there was a big rumor that Armour had gluten in it. It does not. Either does WP thyroid. None of them have any gluten in them, which would be a pain, wouldn't it? All right, I just want to, one last thing I want to do, and then I'm going to let you go, is I just want to talk, food addiction is such a thing. It is such a thing, and it's a real problem. Real problem. Until we can get a hold of what it is that triggers these kind of addiction behaviors, and they're old, believe me, they go back way, 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 way back. Until we can start getting a hold of that, we're never going to get a hold of our weight. Until we get a hold of what's between our ears and the... Oh boy, Catherine said the sound effects make up for the metaphors. Thank you. But what's between our ears and the reasons that we do the things that we do are all based on how whatever our childhood trauma is, or whatever it is that triggered that whole eating mechanism in the first place. And for many of us, for all the people a lot of the people that I've seen, there's so many people out there who have actual food addictions. They not only do they have good food addictions, but they also have binge eating and distorted eating problems, eating disorders. The way that we get on top of that is getting in between our ears and finding out what makes us tick. And then going in and healing that part of us. Because I will tell you, and I promise you this, that when we understand that our 6-year-old self or our 4-year-old self, our understanding of things as a 4-year-old was really big. I shared my abandonment story with you. And what I realized sitting in the bathtub crying my eyes out that night when I remembered that whole story and what happened, because I kind of shut it down for so many years. When I recognized that, I understood that just because that's how my 4-year-old felt back then doesn't mean that me at 57 years old at that time needs to be dealing with it on that same level now. It hurt. It was painful. It caused a lot of behaviors in my life that just didn't make sense anymore. And if I'm going to keep the relationship that I most value now, this one that I have with Mark, all of those insecurities need to go away. All of those insecurities and that need to be constantly patted on the back just need to go away. Abandonment issues are something that we've all dealt with on some grand scheme. Mine was quite huge, and it affected me in a way that I never understood until I was speaking with a counselor. And it all came tumbling back, and it was painful and dreadful and awful. But it taught me something. It taught me that the 4-year-old that felt all of this and that overwhelm and then carried it with me all through my adulthood is a grown woman now. And I get to deal with it with a whole new set of tools, a whole new different point of view and a different understanding, and understanding what my parents were going through and what the whole dysfunction in the junction was about back then, And here's something else that I know. That when we do that, we take the power out of that inability to be able to handle these things in our lives. Take the power out of it. We unplug the machine and we flip a new switch. We flip a switch of understanding and empathy for all the people that were involved in it. And I'm talking about things that obviously aren't abusive. I'm talking about things that, for my parents, that was not, they weren't intentionally trying to abuse me. They just left. And I didn't know where I was or who I was with. And it frightened me. And it wasn't until a week later that they came to get me. But I thought they were never going to come. And it set me up for the rest, through my life, through my adulthood, through my thing with men. But my point is that when you recognize it and understand it and work through it, you can dump it. Because who wants to live with that stuff for the rest of your life? I don't. I don't. I want to grow and go beyond it. I want to become the woman that I'm supposed to be. And if you're here, and I've said this to you guys so many times, if you're here because God still has a purpose for you. And your purpose is to find out what He wants for you. That's your purpose right now. And you do that when you get your health in order. You do that when you get your weight in order, because we get consumed with it otherwise, right? We get consumed. How does our house look? What are we doing? La, 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 la. Our to-do list. But we can get rid of the consumed by and start being consumed with our purpose. And start being consumed with the abilities that God has given us, that we can go out there and we can affect people's lives. We can be that voice that tells somebody that they're loved and that they're great and that you're proud of them. My daughter, Caroline, this is the kicking the baby bird out of the nest, right? Kind of a thing, which it happens. This is just part and parcel of the whole thing with, parenting and stuff. But my daughter worked for me for quite a while. And, we had some growth issues in the company, and we had some things, and I had to cut back on staff. And so I told Caroline, I said, well, that's it for you, honey. It's time for you to get some wings. And she did. And I'm so proud of her because, she didn't sit around feeling sorry for herself. Instead, she pulled together all of her abilities, all of her talents, and she went out. I did some introductions, and now she is a food photographer who has many accolades behind her. And, she's doing something with the situation that she was in. So while I, said to her, I'm kicking this little baby bird out of the nest, I also knew that she had it within her. And that's what I'm saying to you. as I kick you little baby birds out of the nest. I know you have it within you. I know that you're stronger. That's right. Catherine said, I'm stronger than that little girl. Strong enough to heal her. And we're all strong enough to heal with God's help. We all are. It's facing it. And the worst part of facing something sometimes is turning the switch on. You know, that dark room is scary, but with the light switch on, not so scary. You know, and I happen to believe that God lights the way for us. And he doesn't take us to a place where he's just going to throw us down a hole and abandon us and say, good luck. He never does that. He actually equips us, and he gives us the hearts and the empathy and the understanding. And guess what? All that brokenness that you've experienced in your life gets to be used to help somebody else through their brokenness. You know, it's never a waste. And there's never a reason to ever hate anyone or ever dismiss anyone. Sometimes, you know, what happens in your family's life, I mean, this has happened to me, you know, where I've lost both my parents now, and I have my children, and there you go. That's it. My sister and brother I'm estranged from. I'm just going to say it. And it's sad, but it is what it is, and there is not a darn thing I can do about it. I've done what I could on my side, but you can't force things, right? And you might be in the same position. And with the holidays coming up, we all start thinking about our family, and that thing comes inside, and we start thinking, oh my gosh, you know, this pain inside, and none of us have that perfect little family. And while you might see the family down the street and think, oh, they've got it all together, they don't. They've got their stuff. They've got their pain. We're all in that place. We're all in that place of just trying to heal and trying to go through to the next thing. And if we're here, then we have a purpose. It's just that simple. And my whole thing is to help you get to the place where you understand that, where the healing happens, and that you can go and help someone else. Okay? You're a gift, you guys. You are a gift. God said it loud and clear. He's marked you as his own, for his own. And if I had my tiara, I'd put it on right now. Daughter of the King. So are you. Don't you ever, ever, ever forget it. So if you're in my groups, any of my groups, from the sprint all the way to any of them, I know who you are, I've got your back, and I won't let you fall. Okay? That's my promise to you. As much as I know, as much as I can help you, I'm going to help you the best that I can. Okay? That's it. One sister to another. Thanks, Joanne. And thanks for being with me. And I'm sorry I went a little long today, but that's my heart. I just want you to get the help that you need and to go to the place of healing. You know, go to the place of healing. It's there for you. Turn on the light. Let God show you the way. He will. And just know that if you need sisters and you're in one of my communities, just reach out. Okay? Love you guys. Peace.